Yes.
But let's say you partnered with that contractor, but you're untitled. It has to be a specific, unique situation, right? You're untitled, partners the JV, or the contractor's the JV, and I don't think in that scenario you're given a deposit. I don't know. Depends on how that relationship is structured, and in a way that's better because if you haven't given them any money and they're supposed to get the work done at cost, right? That's their sweat equity.
Yeah.
And I guess you're not 50K out of pocket.
You shouldn't be. If somebody's giving you, so I see people partner up with others and like contract, and they think that they're getting a better deal, but then they find out that the price that contractor they're partnering with is actually giving them pretty much exactly the price anybody else would. So there's not a lot of added value to it.
Right.
Although if you do put in all the money, like if I So I've done this in two ways that I kind of regret doing it, but it still works out. It just didn't work out in an ideal way. One is when I partnered up with family members that are in construction. That becomes difficult because firing them becomes very challenging and it's going to ruin your business. So if you work with family and they're going to put in some kind of sweat equity, the idea is that they're going to care more than just any contractor is going to care. They should be able to give more. But you realize that people, when they calculate sweat equity, people don't always factor in how much that's going to affect their work ethic. Right? Somebody's saying, "Oh, I'm going to get this done," but when you're not actually receiving money on a monthly basis, or the light at the end of the tunnel is so far down that it's demoralizing, you don't get that pay increment that encourages people. Typically, it becomes very difficult to motivate. So when you have, if you are going to partner with somebody, I feel the best way to do it is that even if the contractor is going to pay themselves, the contractor puts in all the money so that they can then take payment from that pool of funds. So at least then, should they fail to fulfill their end of the bargain, you can sub it up to somebody else. So the money should still be there because people can't operate promises.
Right. No, I get where you're from.
Let me see here. Okay. Thanks, Spring Hill. Yeah, Joy did. But yeah. Okay. So in terms of, by the way, like when you raise money, if you're going to structure it together, how would you set up that kind of a partnership in an agreement, in terms of shares? Like, how do you value the partnership?
I guess it depends on what they bring to the table from a capital standpoint and also experience in the specific field.
And then if it is expertise that you're bringing in, how do you measure?
Oh yeah, that's hard. I think it's case by case. It's case by case. But for the most part, it is structured based on the capital that they're bringing in, right? It's more monetary thing. But then I don't know, just like a random example, if I'm partnering with an electrician, let's say, and the electrical work for that specific project is going to cost 50,000. Right? And it's 3,000 value. Even though you're gonna still have to pay for that, maybe they're not charging their additional markup on top. They're just charging for the material, not necessarily labor. That portion of that 50K would then be considered their, I guess, equity in a way. And then based on that, you can calculate, okay, that much money compared to the total amount of capital needed for this project, what is that percentage? And that would be the percentage that you could potentially offer that person.
Okay. And that's how. Okay. So you would have to break down the value of whatever expertise or anything that they're bringing into something monetary, and then you calculate the cost of the project. Okay.
Yeah.
And I think that's a much safer way to do it. So I don't know, some people do it in so many weird ways, and then they find themselves in tricky situations. It literally puts them into a partnership where they hire a contractor in the same situation, giving somebody a deposit, and then they fail to complete the job. But in this case, you gave them a share of the project, and they failed to complete the job.
Yeah,
I think
I think the
monetary, you gotta put a number to it, right?
And
where that number comes from.
Right, whether it's an accountant doing all of the accounting for the project, which would normally cost you, I don't know, whatever X, right? Like Arrow's saying, depending on what it is, that allotment should still be there, but that's part of their contribution, right? So if they don't, then you still have those funds to finish it. Partnerships are tricky, man. That's something I've learned.
Yeah, and then also you can firstly, I'll come back to me.
There's no perfect partnership.
There's always
going to be
one model, for me at least, there's no one model, and sometimes it works and you just keep that model, but I think you all gotta be fluid in terms of like the way you structure things, I guess. Oh, yeah, I remember though. Also depends on what stage of the project you're at as well. In a situation where at the very beginning, when you're looking to acquire property, I think for me at least, I'm more willing to offer a bigger share just because we're still in the acquisition phase, and you need more capital. I guess there's more uncertainty and a little bit of a risk. So in the earlier stages of the project, I think you're able to offer more of a percentage. Whereas you get into a situation where you purchase the building, you're already into it, and then let's say you're raising capital for the construction. I think at that point, the amount that I would offer would be less than what I would offer in the very beginning prior to the acquisition. If that makes sense.
I need a flow chart.
But you get there, right? Like, you know, once you have the property, you're the owner. I think you have a little bit more leverage in terms of dictating the terms.
Yes, but you still don't want to end up. Like, things should be relatively clear. I feel like that's the problem that most people encounter. They don't have total clarity as to what can go wrong, and so they don't know how to protect themselves against potential obstacles or issues that may come down the road. The biggest one that I find, especially when it involves people in a renovation, because the best partnerships, at least in an ideal world, or when people find themselves in different situations, like what do we typically see? Husband and wife, that's like the core partnership of anybody who's going to be one person's kind of like a money partner, another person's a sweat equity partner, where that is typically how you see that. But then the expectation in terms of timelines, how to handle problems when they come up, how to handle cash call. It's like a cash call for a lot of people is not heard of, and the cash call being when you need to bring in more money because something was misbudgeted, or you took on a project where you didn't anticipate certain problems and you have to do it. Where is that money, effort, and cost coming from? So there's a lack of clarity in it, and if people are able to just iron these things up in the beginning, you'll be more likely to sort it. But you can do all kinds of ways to even it out. If you have cooperation and things are good, you can do like what you said, where there's different percentage of ownership or shares based on what needs to be put in. And if you can have that rotate and fluctuate a little bit, you're probably okay. But if you can't, because not everybody is always going to appreciate the trouble that somebody else is going through when problems happen, and when you go to resolve them, they might not know the complexities of what you need to do for it. Like, does somebody understand how hard it was for somebody on the renovation level to do what they did, and does somebody on the renovation level understand how complicated or difficult it was maybe to pull some extra money? Right? So there's a disconnect all the time.
Yeah, I can see that.
But okay. I had to deal with I had to work with a couple of people recently that were dealing with this exact thing. That's why I'm thinking about it, because it seems like a lot of relationship problems. Sometimes when they complain about it, it seems like a lot of dating problems. It's just in real estate.
I think I think where that comes from is it's gotta be I don't know, this is what I feel. It's gotta be miscommunication, or it's over-promising and not delivering on those promises. But I feel like a lot of times it is miscommunication, whether certain things are not interpreted in the way that it was meant to be interpreted. Which is, that could happen. I've seen that happen in the past.
Yeah. So basically, I think I can agree that the best way if you are going to form a partnership, even if you have somebody doing sweat equity, even if they are a contractor or somebody your partner with investor, not a bad idea to have a little money in and pay yourself with the work. Fair?
Yeah.
Seems clean.
And the money can come back to you anyways, right? So it's like, it shouldn't make a huge difference.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So Taco, what are you dealing with lately?
We got a wonderful property where the hot water tank went down, and the boiler was really old, so we had to replace that. And it's in a small fourplex. And we talked about miscommunication. So the property management company rented these units. So all of the units have mini splits. And the mini splits are the primary source of heat, and the boilers are backup source of heat. The mini split is more than enough. These are small, 500 square foot units. Like a 12,000 BTU mini split would cover the heat required for the rooms. And the boiler. So the boiler's down, or was down, and then we replaced it, and then there was like a part that wasn't working, so we had to go get a part. And obviously, people aren't in the Reno/construction world and don't understand that boiler parts are not just like go to your local Home Depot and pick up the part because it's there waiting and ready for you. That's not how these things work. They are very more complicated machines, and they are all very different and all very special, and parts aren't just readily available. Like most of the time they get ordered from the manufacturer unless it's something that's been around for a while and has lots of parts, but that's not the case. We're replacing the boiler. So what could I do? I don't know. And then we're setting up the boiler, and now we're running it, and we're running it on super low heat because we want it to be the secondary source of heat. And then the previous boiler was there's like a valve that opens and closes the flow of heat. And because the old boiler was undersized and overworking, that valve stayed open. So that boiler was like overheating units, and tenants were like opening their windows in the past. And now we have a new system that's like a computer. It's not, it's a very smart system. It's operating much more efficiently, and tenants are obviously not feeling the same warmth that they did. And and I was talking to some of them, and they're really frustrated because on their lease it says the owner's the primary heat, and the heat pumps are just to like nestle up in either direction. So some miscommunication with the property management and stuff. So it's been a hell of a ride.
So what happens in a situation like that? Where does the owner? Because even the decision-making process right now, things are getting colder. I'm sure when something like that happens, it's urgency. Like, hey, you have to take care of this right now. And there's probably remediary steps that you might take in order to just make things okay for right now.
Yeah. So you would like so in that situation, like if it's middle of the winter, I would go to Canadian Tire, Home Depot, Walmart. And I would buy a bunch of space heaters and drop them all off. But they have backup heat. The issue is the communication's not very well. Tenants are mad because there's no heat, and we're saying like, okay, put on your boiler, your heat pumps to offset the heat while we resolve the boiler issue. So now they're like kicking and screaming and all upset and stuff, which I get. Because I was under the impression that we had articulated to the tenants that the main source of heat is your boiler. Not your boiler, your mini split, but it's not. So that's why they're upset. They don't want to run the mini splits. Why should we pay for heat? And I'm like, so that's like the biggest problem is that stressor. But really, they have a secondary source of heat. So I don't need to go to the store and buy. I get that your bathroom is cold. I can understand that it's not the most ideal situation. But you have heat in your unit, and you can be warm. You're not frozen. It's not like minus 1,000 degrees outside right now. And we are actively working to deal with the problem. So there is no real urgency on our end. But there's an urgency on the tenant end because the tenants feel like we should be providing way more heat and all of this stuff. So it's really a huge miscommunication from the property management and the tenants. You know, and this property management company is, I don't overly love them. I'm not going to say who they are, but yeah, they like. I'm talking to the tenants. I'm talking to the tenants from a contractor angle, like my team. And they're like, the property management hasn't updated us in 2 days about what's happening with the heat. And I've updated the property management company what's going on with the heat. But even like an update saying like, hey, the contractors were there. You know, the issue still hasn't been resolved. We're going to continue to be on top of it. Let us know how the temperature is, but please continue to use your mini split system until this issue is resolved. Like that's all the communication. You could have zero communication from the contractor, but you could like put the tenants at bay if you gave them information that makes them feel like something is happening. Sometimes.
Yeah. You know what? So I do find that management sometimes plays a very interesting game. Property managers of different companies, depending on who they hire and what their disposition is. So play this game up, throwing people under the bus. And sometimes the person that gets thrown under the bus, the person who is the nicest. So whoever they're, sometimes I find that they will, if the tenant is too difficult, due to just not wanting to have to deal with that confrontation, they will apply pressure to the contractor. If the contractor is too difficult, and the landlord's nicer, they will apply pressure to the landlord, and then just kind of following the path of least resistance, and then making some hell in that direction. But ultimately, the miscommunications when it comes to the work, what you dealt with there seems awfully specific. And I feel that maybe whoever is dealing with it on the administration level is not necessarily going to understand the complexity of it.
No, they don't. They don't. And that's why we're running into issues. And I get it. Look, I get that the tenant's going to be pissed because they aren't warm. I get that. But as a property manager, if sending emails isn't enough, then you got to pick up the phone and talk to these people and make them feel like people and let them be like a lot of people. Honestly, like the angriest people. I worked in sales. I worked at RBC Royal Bank answering calls. I didn't get to choose what call I got. I just got whatever call I got. Right? Like, and I would answer 75 to 130 calls a day, depending on the length of time. And there was anything from grandma trying to do an online bill transaction to irate tenant whose mortgage just bounced, and now tomorrow their car payment's going to bounce, and it's going to set a chain of bouncing events into their life. And I got to adapt my tone, my how I have the conversation with that person, regardless if they're mad at me or hate me because I'm working for the big bad bank or whatever. It doesn't matter. But if you just like hear them out, let them just let them go at you, whatever. Don't take it personal. That's a problem, I think. In property management, a lot of these people, these reps take it personally, and then they fight back. Right, per se. You know what? Fuck it. I'm going to give them a short, I'm going to give them the bare minimum information or whatever it is. And I think that's where like a lot of this stuff happens. You just talk to the tenants. Just talk to them like people. They're people. They have issues. I get you may not be able to resolve their issue, but if you just like listen to people, most people like to be listened to, and that's it.
Yeah. By the way, pacifying is a very special skill. And property managers, I feel like that should be one of the foremost skills, especially if they're front-facing, speaking to tenants and dealing with a variety of problems. But there's such broadness to it that it becomes tricky to balance out. we had it one time where, and I would love to know how you contend with this. We had it one time where a company came in to do some work. They were doing some. They had to fix some plumbing that was in between the inside of the building and the outside of the building. So they had to do some extensive work. But long story short, they quoted us one thing. They come to the site, they dig up, they start doing their work, and then they realize they have to do a lot more. They spoke to the tenant in one instance and asked them if it's okay to continue. I guess whoever was on site thought they were the owner. And the tenant approved the work, obviously, and then they go ahead and do the work, and there was no discussion of price, and then they came to us with a bill six times what they had originally quoted, right? So it was supposed to be a couple $1,000, and then it ended up being like way more. It was like over $10,000 for some reason, right? The work was quite extensive. And the weird thing was that no contracts were done, and we were pissed off because, if you're going to set a bill like that, there ought to be some paper trail. Right? And even if somebody was going to sign for it, make the tenant sign for it, at least then there's some kind of fraudulent activity or something, right? But there was no paper trail, and then you have to make a decision on the management level. Do you want to preserve the relationship and pay this bill? Like, they did do work that was necessary. Objectively, it was needed. There wasn't really much way around it. We might have gotten it marginally cheaper, but they did it immediately and on the spot. So you have to measure these things out and decide whether or not that is appropriate. But we could have just held the money, not paid them, and said we can sign for this.
It's true.
But that's where if you are working with somebody and you want to have longevity, because the real estate community is small. You screw a couple people over, people are gonna know.
Yeah. This is why I'm not in property management, and I know I've been like dabbling doing a digital concierge type property management system. But it sucks. Being a property manager sucks. This is the fucking worst job on the goddamn planet. Period. Like I would never. You're just gonna eat shit. Like from everyone. The owner is gonna be grinding you over price. The contractor is gonna be grinding you over like costs, right? The tenants are gonna be grinding you over everything. Like nobody's calling a property manager to be like, hey, property manager, how are you doing today? How is your day? It's not the job. It's not the role. It is the most unforgiving business in real estate investing. And honestly, like the ability, like you said, to pacify every person, it's a skill, and you should like all of your frontline staff should be really strong at that skill. And you should be coming up with ways to mitigate the skills, even like. We used to pass clients along, right? Like in the bank. I got a lot of experience just from the amount of phone calls I took in my time. And same thing, like I would have a conversation, and sometimes this person, there was nothing I could say or do that I was going to solve. It had to go to the manager. And the manager was just somebody on the floor that was like on the emergency phone that he would just run around to whoever wanted to speak to the next tier. And I'd be like, okay, hold on one second, I'll get my manager on the line. And I just transfer it to you. And I'm like, hey, here's the lowdown. This is the client. She hates me. I don't know. This is the situation. They just want to speak to a manager. And you're like, hey, it's Andrew speaking. I'm the manager of this department. How can I help you? And then you just listen. And then they would resolve. There's so many calls I took as the manager, and I resolved the call. But I didn't say anything. I didn't do anything. I didn't change anything. They just like felt like they were heard because they put in a complaint to the manager. And that's it. And like sometimes that's all it is. But like if that's what it takes, then fucking do it. Like I know the tenants were emailing our property manager and saying they want to have a sit down conversation with the property manager, like manager, the owner, or whatever. And she is unwilling to do so and has like ignored that. And I'm like, just take a what are you gonna do? Yell at you? Okay, I'm gonna yell at you. Welcome to your life. This is your job. You chose to be in this industry, in this business. Deal with it.
Yeah. No, there's property managers notoriously a thankless job.
It's the worst.
It's like the requirement is so broad. Being a therapist is a bit of one.
Yeah. What's this company called? Spring Hill? Spring Hill? Man, honestly, before we whoever that is, property manager right there, you're doing thankless work. Sorry. Just wanted to thank the property manager. Sorry for the interruption.
No, it's hard. It's hard. It's challenging work. However, because it's so hard, it's also one of the reasons why there's very little competition. Like I know I told you on one of our early conversations was the reason why we got into it to begin with was because it was very difficult to find property managers eventually go out of business. They go out of business in the sense that they don't take on new clients because after you get enough of a pool of people that you are managing, properties that you're managing and landlords that you're working with, you don't really want to take anymore. So at some point you kind of get to a size, at least in the small to mid-sized residential sector, where you're like, I don't need any more. Because you've already worked on these properties, you stabilize them, and those properties are just now residual cash flow, slowly. Right? So you get to reap the rewards of all the work that you've been doing all this time, and you get to get some payout. But there is definitely some benefit to the density that you can operate in. Like the property managers that operate in some of the commercial or standardized buildings that you work in, there's not a lot of management work to do to some of these buildings. There's tenant placement, which is paid extra. Everything is more or less standard construction. Everybody's licensed. You don't have to work with Joe Blow handyman or people who everything is so much of an art that nothing is standard, and you're able to just operate at a distance. Like those type of property managers can more or less operate remotely. You just schedule what your snow removal guys, your lawn care guys, your sewer maintenance, fire and safety inspection. You do all of your routine stuff. And honestly, if you get enough relationships, I don't know if this is the right thing to speak about, but like. It's almost relatively common practice that even giving enough business to people, those guys start giving you envelopes at the end of the year. Right?
Oh, I've seen it. I've seen it. I've been to a part of Propo. I've ever been there. That's like the big property management companies like that work with Starlight, Hazelview, like all of the big boys. And man, some companies give good Christmas gifts. In little envelopes.
And we're not talking about, like, here's the thing, I don't know what they're doing, right? But when you're on a small to mid-sized level, there is a genuine appreciation that goes around. It's not like, hey, make sure you're giving these jobs. It's like, no, you find somebody you like, you give them business, it's mutually beneficial, and when the work is easier on their part, oftentimes like things come back. So there's density in the property management, and there's a lot of work, there's a lot of maintenance in it. Like people who do have construction backgrounds are doing renovations. So many of them will end up doing some kind of work for property management companies, either on the side or in some fashion. And a lot of guys also end up becoming, for people that they work for, how many investors ask one of the guys who also is doing renovations for them whether or not they could kind of do partial property management to properties, right? It's hard to find good property managers. That's why people are just looking wherever they can to find somebody to fill the void.
Yeah, I agree. There's lots of service work in property management. Lots. For reno guys and stuff like that, there's tons of it.
Exactly. Okay. What do you want to move on to then? I know we have a few people here.
I don't know. Is there any topics? Anybody want to? What else should we hit? I like Wednesdays because we don't really have a major agenda, but we do end up going into some pretty. Like we talked partnerships today. Talked about communication, like pacifying, property management in general, like the job, the role. It's interesting. How are you finding like I guess moving to technology over the in-person or the phone call situations in property management? Like there's a guy that go ahead.
All I was going to say was I found that after COVID initially hit, it made using technology, the challenge of bridging the technology way easier. That's it.
Yeah, just the adapters, right? It's people. I guess it depends on who you get as a tenant. But yeah, we have like so there's a guy that who's at our event. I met him at the Tiny Home Show, and he's got this platform called Cozy, and it's an online platform for property management. So like you as a homeowner or like a smaller real estate investor, that are managing under like 10 units, you can go on this platform and outface a digital property management company, and you can put in like their service request stuff, and they have to upload photos and put like documentation and kind of help troubleshoot. Like I know we talked about it briefly about those videos and stuff like that, helping the tenants troubleshoot it pre-sending somebody. So you're getting as much data as possible, because it puts some onus on the tenant of like, okay, I need you to do some work because I'm going to send a plumber, and then the plumber might not be the fix, and then you're mad at me because we went 3 days without repair because you asked for a plumber when the problem was electrical.
And you know, I chime in there, Mark. Hi, Andrew, how are you? I'm using another platform. It's called Tenant Cube, and they have a pretty awesome platform for property management. And they also have this awesome rent guarantee program, where if the tenant qualifies for the rent guarantee program, it's like an insurance. So if the tenant stops paying rent, Tenant Cube covers it. They have like an insurance policy. So it's a pretty cool program they got. Going back to the technology thing, they have this QR code thing. It's like if there's a maintenance issue, you make a QR code, and it's like a sticker, and you put it on that whatever it may be. If it's a fridge or if it's like a stove or something like that, you stick it on there, and then the contractor can scan, and it'll tell them everything that they need to do. Which is pretty cool. I don't know if you heard about that, Mark. But it's pretty cool technology they have.
No, I haven't seen it, but the rental guarantee thing is a pretty cool thing that I've been hearing a lot more of. Right? And then there's that other one, front step or front lobby, and they like report to credit bureaus for the tenants. And that's like it's you're doing a better job of like kind of keeping the tenants accountable, right, for some of the stuff. So it's pretty good. I think the more we can implement stuff like that, the better it will be the relationship between tenant and owner. Because I think a lot of the tenants think that every owner is sitting on piles and piles of cash and jumping in like Scrooge McDuck does every time they call about a no-key call or some sort of an issue, right?
Implemented it on my own properties as rent guarantee. And so far, knock on wood, it's worked out well. It's an extra layer of protection. That I think they charge, I think it was 5% a month. But you pay it all up front, and you get this form. It's like an insurance form. And if anything were to happen, there's like another form you have to fill out. Telling you what happened, but it does cover the rent, $10,000 of damages, and also $1,500 per paralegal costs.
Oh, damn!
So it's pretty neat, actually. So it's pretty cool. No, I never had to. So they like you put tenants through your own screening, right? And then they put the tenants through the screening. By the end of those two screenings, the tenants like. You pretty much check their shoe size, their blood sample, everything. There's
a property management company out of Hamilton, and what they do is they try to place tenants that are trying to like and help them get their first property. Not like
rent to own?
No, not like rent to own. They're just legitimately helping these people, like kind of like educating them, and through that education process, that person's going to be a better tenant and then essentially move out, but like in a good way, right? Like you're going to move a good tenant through your line because you're picking a tenant that is ideal, and not only even if they aren't ideal, you're helping them become ideal, and then they're just going to be able to better maintain whether they buy a house or not. That's not like on them. They just kind of like rent to own, but without the greediness of rent to own, right? Because rent to own is a big money making system. Which a lot of people make money on, and it's good. I'm not knocking rent to own. I think it's a great program. I just don't personally do it. But yeah, like it's similar, but not as, they're just doing it for different, I guess, to get better quality tenants out of it versus profiteering off of that side of it.
On the plus point, if you are able to encourage somebody to eventually move out, then you don't have to worry about them becoming forever tenants and having to try to figure out how to motion them out of the property every time.
And that's basically the mindset behind what they're doing is like that's a better reason to move them out is to help them move out. So they're moving on in their life cycle, and then you can get the new tenant in, raise the rent, and now you're enjoying.
Okay, so actually, I want to bring something up since we're on some of this. I did learn something I wanted to share during this regarding tenancies. Though, a lot of landlords were asking a question about how to get around the landlord-tenant board, because the whole thing is such a general joke these days. It takes a long time. I mean, you still have hearings that we had heard in May, and we still don't have the verdicts for. So evictions are very challenging, and you can have tenants paying rent, tenants not paying rent for a long period of time. I met a lady who was telling me how to do these hybrid rentals. So for anybody who's looking to do some kind of rooming rentals, like student rentals, sometimes people have. This is a very unique situation when people have to do room rentals. It's not the most ideal. However, I have found people who are doing it find it quite profitable, right? Because they're able to essentially up the room cost. But what they found was, what I was told was, and I remember this because you were talking about the tenant insurance. They rent the room as the room only, and they have to charge it by the daily rate, and they add HST onto it. If they add HST onto it, it starts to fall into the realm of hospitality, and thereby ends up falling outside of the landlord and tenant board. And one of the key distinguishing factors is that if you also include services as with hospitality would, such as cleaning of common areas, anything that has to do with common area amenities, that ends up constituting as hospitality. And then if you have any troubles, it essentially falls outside of the landlord and tenant board. And there's different types of insurances you can buy for hospitality that will protect the property that you have, similar to the rent guarantee programs, but more for damages to the property or if something else happens. But it's interesting because right now, with the way the economy is, people are finding creative ways to get around different things. I haven't tried this. This is something that somebody told me they were doing recently, but I thought it was interesting. But it comes with a whole array of different maintenance issues. Largely, cleaning services end up going through the roof. You end up having high turnover and other things, but the price point obviously reflects it. But for people who are finding themselves in tough financial positions and just a little bit too far below the break-even point, people are starting to consider this.
Yeah, there's a few people, including like they focus on these midterm rentals as another, right? Like that time, not necessarily like all of these amenities and services is the timeline where you can like. Because STR is getting completely attacked, right? So you just bump in your time window to 31 days. Then you're outside of the realm, and as long as you cancel your contract within 90 days, you're outside of the other realm, and now you're in this gray area that the city and landlord-tenant boards, and they haven't started targeting yet, right? Because all of these loopholes will eventually get targeted.
There's another way too. Sorry, Mark. Go ahead. There's another way too. Let you finish real quick. Go ahead. I have another way that I'm doing it myself. Under a non-profit that falls off of the RTA.
I'm just saying that like those you'll get like these loopholes will get targeted as they become popular. And that's it. Like, the better this loophole is, and the more people that adopt it, the sooner it's going to get targeted.
Well, I'm doing a rooming rental right now for some Indian students, and as long as you have shared accommodations, And if you do it under a non-profit, I actually spoke to a paralegal. They drafted up the agreement for me as a rooming house, lodging home. It doesn't fall under the RTA to the shared accommodations. And if you're one of your family members or someone you know lives there, it doesn't fall under the RTA. So you can get them out if they pay within a month.
So those are two ways that people are leveraging. One is if you have a family member living there, then you don't even need a non-profit. Like none of that stuff will matter. But if you are the non-profit, I've heard of this. Can you elaborate more on the non-profit? Will that work on its own?
Well, the non-profit works because it's essentially it's a trick of the trade that I was taught by a lawyer, paralegal. He's like, this is one of the ways to bypass it. So he drafted up a lease for me under my non-profit. I have a non-profit. And he says, listen, if you have any issues with any of the tenants, you can get them out in less than a month. With this lease. So because it falls under non-profit, and it's a rooming house, a lodging house, it bypasses the RTA. So
you're saying, is it a legal rooming house? Like legally zoned as lodging?
It's not legally zoned as lodging.
You're just using it as such.
You're just using it as such.
Okay.
It's a legal duplex. It's a legal duplex, but I'm renting it out per room.
Okay. By the way, I would love actually at some point maybe if you can connect me with that paralegal, because I would love to know how people do this. Right now, there's a lot of people who are getting very desperate. People are asking about how to do this. Right? The government is generally pinching landlords quite a bit, and everybody's looking for creative solutions. Right? Government's trying to target Airbnb, short-term rentals, as though that is the problem, not really asking itself why is it that landlords, real estate investors are looking towards alternate options to resell or rent out their properties, and why is it that they don't want to just rent just anybody? It's because the government is so involved. And because the government is so involved, people are trying to figure out ways to help. This is why so many people are going to Alberta, right? It's because it's more landlord friendly, and the provincial government isn't as involved as Ontario seems to be. So
it's all coming at once. I don't know if you know, Andrew, this vacancy tax. I had about 7 units on Airbnb. They're coming after everything right now, and it's like in the start of January is when it, for lack of better words, the shit's gonna hit the fan, and they're gonna be coming after everything. And now the federal government is after STRs, short-term rentals, and it's just they're coming after everything right now. So we have to find better ways of protecting ourselves as landlords. It could be the rent guarantee programs that are offered. It could be rooming houses, lodging homes. The one good thing is, the changing of the zoning in the city of Hamilton, at least, which will help a lot. But we have to protect ourselves because there are going to be tenants out there that are going to be trying to take advantage, right? As there always are. And we have our shows about horror stories. I have so many horror stories about tenants in Hamilton. So many horror stories. So many things that have happened. That is like unbelievable. Like unbelievable. Nobody would believe them, right? But they've happened. It's happened. I've been called every word in the English dictionary. So it's like they're coming down with everything at the end of this year. So anybody that had multi-unit Airbnbs, they're really they're under pressure right now. They're under pressure to find good tenants. They're under pressure to get rid of all their furniture, and it's like, where do you go from there, right? Like, you got a couple months left.
Government is really good when government is really quick to say things. Government is really good when they make promises, and when they say that they're going to crunch down on something in order to get votes. When they tell the people that they're going to solve the housing crisis by targeting foreign investors, Airbnb owners, anything like this, and they're going to put landlords in their place, so to speak, or whatever. It seems like the enforcement is always where the issue is. Vacant home tax, what they're really hoping is that people are going to start renting out their homes. But what's happening there is that somebody is just putting their daughter, their sister, their uncle, their aunt, somebody to register their primary address as that property, so it's no longer constituted as vacant. So people are making shifts like that. It's stupid little things. It's technically dishonest, but this is what people are doing, and it's not really a matter of right or wrong. It's like you're pushing people against the wall, and people are making decisions as to how they want to conduct themselves. And then with respect to Airbnb, they made it so that you are not allowed to Airbnb your non-primary residence. That's what they're doing. But what people are now doing is they're putting somebody else, and there's a tenant, and that tenant is now the Airbnb host.
So that's exactly what I was gonna do. But there's a big but to it. Because I was in the whole committee fighting the whole city. I was there for the whole thing. I was the one speaking up about it with the stupid mayor that we have, and she couldn't make it as the governor. Now she's our mayor. But either way, the thing is, there's so many other restrictions they're going to be bringing in with that. Fire code, this extra stuff that was not required before. Now it's going to take a while for them to like actually implement it. I agree with you. Hamilton is very slow when it comes to anything. But all these extra things that they're going to make you do, it's not going to be worth it. It's just not going to be worth it to have an Airbnb after doing all these things, right? Like the cost attributed to it, and now you can't rent things off. I don't know if you've been watching the news. They're trying to come after the write-offs of Airbnbs. It's just like, as an Airbnb host, you're just like, you already have to do everything to take. Sorry.
By the way, guys, just for context, there's as long as the playing field is even, I don't think it's going to. You don't have to worry too much. As long as nobody is being given an unfair advantage, you can play, you can compete, you can navigate the situation. The whole thing with the Airbnb rentals is mainly that something else is going to take its place. People are already looking at alternate options. Midterm rentals is a really great opportunity that people are venturing into, where they're essentially doing corporate leases to corporations, and then anybody who has to go stay somewhere is renting through a corporation. They're generally more stable, but they don't fall under residential leases anymore, so they're commercially enforced. They have their own bailiff system, they have completely different rules and laws, and effectively lockouts are okay. I'm not saying that we should be going out locking people out of their homes or anything like that, but I'm just saying push comes to shove and something is not right, you can you have more autonomy in the decision-making process. So there's always going to be some way to adjust to these things, so long as the playing field is even. But as we are approaching 8 o'clock, does anybody have any questions, things that they want to throw out based off anything that we discussed, whether it's maintenance related, property management related, real estate related? By all means, throw it into the chat, or feel free to just unmute yourself. You can ask a question. Let's see if we can answer it. Anybody have any questions? Otherwise, we are going to start wrapping it up soon. Maybe somebody typing. We'll give it a sec. Does it slow down in the winter in terms of real estate? Can you broaden the question out? Real estate being very broad, it doesn't seem like real estate exactly stops, but in what sense do you mean? Less deals. Okay. Let's exclude the traditional market. So we do a lot of acquisitions through wholesale methods. We don't exactly wholesale our properties anymore, but we focus a lot on off-market deals. There's periods of time where you see deal flows come in different degrees. This has been a very unusual economy that we've been in, a very volatile market, let's just say, where it's kind of a little bit up, a little bit down. People gain hope, people lose hope, and things are generally in a little bit of flux. So it doesn't so much follow the season. The season with the traditional real estate market is that in the winter you're going to see less properties come up, and then you really have to sift through the deals in order to find something that is good. Anybody who's selling the winter, they're not usually selling the winter because this was their part of their plan. They're usually selling the winter because they have to, or they're in a bit of a pinch, so theoretically you should be able to find opportunity. We always find deals regardless of the season, but right now, the unique thing about this winter is that there's a lot of mortgage renewals coming up. So there's a lot of listings coming onto the market, and people are still sitting on the sidelines because of interest rates. So with interest rates the way that they are, people are worried that they're not going to be able to afford it. People are going for 2% interest rates all the way up to 5, 6, 7% depending on what they qualify for. And if they refinance, pull a second mortgage, or did something else, they're going to be in an even bigger pinch. So they might not be able to afford the deal, and they're going to be afraid of losing their property, which means that if you're looking for a deal, there's this stress that you may be able to offer them a way out by essentially paying out their debts, and they get a little something, as opposed to being in a position where they may lose everything. Yeah, thank you very much. Yada yada. Okay, perfect. All right, Roja, I hope that answers your question. If anybody else has any questions, by all means. I see Audrey typing. Okay. Let me see here. I'll wait till you finish putting out your question. And while you're typing out your question, what property management services can make property management easier? Do you mean as an operator to use a software to manage yourself? Or do you mean what property management services can you hire? Sorry, you said software services, so I'm assuming you mean like rent management and anything like that. I'm going to assume that that's what you mean. So if you're talking about that, we use Buildium. Buildium is a property. What software? Yeah. So Buildium is a property management software that we use to collect rent, organize maintenance requests, and basically keep organized our accounting and our leases. And it's good in the sense that it consolidates communication, and it provides a platform for both landlords and tenants to check in on, so your inputs are all the same. Because if you are providing a service to landlords and you want to disseminate information, you don't want to have to be constantly organizing your files and sending things out and making copies and duplicating. It becomes very, very tedious administrative work. So the nice thing, and in a nutshell, what we like about property management software overall, Buildium especially, and I do highly recommend it, is that when rents come in, it automatically generates rent reports. So it generates rent reports for the tenant, and it generates rent reports for the landlords. And if you need to input any kind of maintenance that was done to the property as a result of a maintenance request, it ties them all together, and you're able to tie that into the monthly report. So the owners of a property, or the corporate owners, whoever, often want to see where their money went, and this will show it, and they're able to click on it should they want to, and they're able to see a detailed explanation of what happened, essentially the maintenance request that came in, what was responded, and what was done about it. And you just need to make sure to have an administrator on the back end doing proper documentation. So that's what we use. So yes, property management service, Buildium will cover almost all of it. Are there many websites like this? What can be improved on this platform? So the one thing I hate about this platform is that it's not Canadian. Like, we have a smaller economy, we don't have as many things. Like, there are a lot of local competitors. I have been approached by several people who have built Canadian-based ones. However, I do find that they're missing certain things. And again, we also grew to a size where we're no longer at a size where we can switch property management platforms. Like, we considered a couple times. It's too much to get all of our tenants onto a different platform, all of the investors we work with onto different platforms, and retrain all of our staff onto a different platform. Is just not worth it for a relatively marginal difference. What I find a lot of Canadian property management software developers lack is being able to debit banks. So Buildium if we have somebody's, if they give us a void check, we can debit them, and that is huge. That's huge. We used to only be able to do that through, we would bank with RBC, so we only used to be able to do that through Business Bank. But having to call people and remind them, hey, you have to pay your rent, as if though they forgot that they have to pay it every month, is ridiculous. So, and it's not that I don't know why people don't. Some people just don't like to pay their bills on time. I don't know. But being able to debit through the software is crazy. So that definitely eliminated a lot of our communication. It will auto send emails to prompt them to say, hey, your rent is late. Or there are some Canadian-based softwares that will serve N4s. TenantCube also does that. Yeah, I'm sure they will, right? So there's probably the Buildium is older, and it's I mean, it was new when we started using it maybe 6 years ago, but there are definitely innovative companies out there. So TenantCube, I haven't heard about it before, but if they are able to provide all of this and the interface is good, great, use it, right? But you should also consider the staff that you're working with. The bridge that I found was difficult to cross when it comes to people who you're hiring in the maintenance field is that it's hard to train some of these older guys to use different types of software. So you want them to use whatever it is that they're most familiar with. So we do still find we need administration. They're essentially the ones who, the maintenance guys are sending us pictures and images, pictures and text about what it was they did, and then we have an administration that is going to take that information and put it into the property management software. In a nutshell. So definitely recommend using that. It's not expensive, it keeps things organized, and it automates. And even if you're a small property manager or a smaller landlord, it definitely makes you look organized, it makes you look professional, and it helps. It'll help you in the long run if you have any prerogative to grow and scale. This will make it easier, because having to learn it once you're already bigger is going to be quite a pain, and also trying to get all your tenants over when you're of a certain size is also going to be a challenge. So do it sooner. It's not a big expense. Any other questions anybody might have? Okay, perfect. So, if there are no more questions, then I am going to end it there. If anybody wants to chat at any point, by all means, shoot me a message. Otherwise, Taco and I are going to be having casual conversations every Wednesday, so by all means, tune in next time. Thanks for coming, guys. I'll see you later. Have a good night. you.